All right, guys, welcome back. Today we're gonna talk about how we started in RV parks. So basically, everybody has an origin story. Whether you start where with residential, move yourself up to commercial, and find yourself to RV spaces, or for some weird reason, you find yourself right away to RV space. So right now we have Eric, we have Zach, and then Shane and Brian, and then they're just gonna talk a little bit about how they got started in the RV space. So Shane, Eric, Brian, don't know who wants to start first and just take it away.
Guess I'll start first. And it looks like I'm first in line here. So RV parks was sort of a new endeavor, but my origin story, funny enough, was I spent 21 years in a mobile home park. So that was most of my life growing up. So it is very much an adjacent similarity. But so I time in a mobile home park growing up. A lot of time in the woods, hunting, a lot of times camping with my dad. So it was just kind of this natural blend. But I did start in single family residential for a while. As we all know, it can be quite the headache, a lot of work for chasing a few dollars here and there. Kind of came to fruition to me probably about 2 years ago, and I realized that it has potential to be a viable asset class for making money, but also give me that, I guess, reminiscence of the old outdoor recreational days. So that's sort of what brought me to it. But I guess it's sort of been in my livelihood in my life for a long time. I'm an outdoor person, like RV camping, much like Eric. I'm going to be living in an RV by next spring full time. So it just kind of just been a slowly growing thing and just pulled me back to the roots of enjoying being in the woods and living a simpler life.
Got it. So you said it was basically organic, but you didn't start right away, right?
No, I mean, it was like, it's been in like my blood and growing up, but as an investment strategy or considering it to be like an asset class invest, no, I think I started like most people in single family because it's what's more publicized, more common outside of maybe multifamily. But I didn't realize that, RV parks was like an adjacent class to multifamily sector that was a viable option. So that was kind of an endeavor I learned about probably 5-6 years after I started real estate. It's only been about 2 years since I've been deep diving into it.
Got it. I just found out a couple of months ago that RV parks exist. So, so we're right there with you. So I think you mentioned Eric. I don't know, Eric, if you want to start how you got started in RV parks.
Yeah, definitely. So I lived in Atlanta for a decade with my wife, and we were selling our really awesome loft. We had this cool industrial loft, found this house down the street. It was a duplex. And I was like, you know what? This is going to be our house hacking, our first investment property. That was in 2019. COVID hit. Ended up working on the property for about a year and a half myself with all the contractors. Crazy stories with a contractor put in jail, $30,000, this and that. All these things, just like everything that went wrong, could go wrong, went wrong. But we ended up selling with $100,000 profit on top of the money that we invested in there. And my wife looked at me and said, do you want to sell the house and get an RV? And I dropped some, I dropped some very colorful language because I had just spent 18 months working on it. Like, hell no, this is never going to happen. 5 days later, we're looking at RV listings online. And that same day we went and found some Airstreams. So we ended up looking at some Airstreams. Turns out the market was crazy. When we sold the house and buying an RV and buying a truck, all those things were at the top of their market. Super hard to do everything. We got really lucky. We found one that was a mile from where I'm sitting right now. And it was the only one on the East Coast that matched our preferences. Long story short, the people selling it were leaving in 2 weeks. We had to come up with $100,000. And the guy who did the bridge loan for our RV park was actually the same person who did a bridge loan for my RV when I was getting into the industry. So a good buddy of mine did the bridge loan. We ended up living the Airstream RV life for the past 2.5 years, starting out in 2021. And it was just like, we just kind of accidentally fell into the RV living, the lifestyle of it. And about a year ago, when we were getting back on road, I had been trying to successfully transition out of my prior IT business, where I was doing a lot of in-person Apple IT consulting for film studios in Atlanta and a lot of high net worth clients. It was really hard to transition that to an on-the-go, on-the-road remote business. I just don't like doing remote IT sessions. It's not the same. You don't get paid as well. And it's just very stressful because if your internet sucks, then you're not doing well with work. So I was trying to find an into my next thing. And a buddy of mine said, hey, I've got these people that want to build an RV park, and they've mentioned Smart RV Park, and you're the only guy I know that does tech. Let me introduce you to them. ended up being that was the introduction to the first 3 partners of our 5-person partner team. And that was last August. So I just got in, I brought my drone, shot some footage of the land that they were looking at, which was Hidden Beach, like Alpha, the first version potential. That was a horrible, horrible location. Thank God we didn't get that one. And I worked with them for the first few months of last year as a contractor, doing the marketing, doing the tech work, as well as bringing in my RV background insight. And then they invited me, myself as well as Zach, to be from contractors and consultants to actual GPs. So that was kind of, it literally just kept falling, and it just fell all the way into an RV park GP role over the past 3 years. And yeah, I guess we got lucky, and it's been working out so far.
Got it. And you mentioned, I believe Shane mentioned that he wants to move into an RV park and live. And he said that you live in an RV park. Can you expand what an RV actually is? Because some people might not be well familiar with what an actual RV is. Does it come with a toilet? How do I cook? How do I drive it? How do I get a license? For those people that maybe want to invest in RV parks, but before they start investing, maybe they want to, maybe visit one. Maybe that's their way of, starting in RV parks.
Yeah, definitely. So the lowest end RV parks come with a shovel and a good luck to find your toilet. Those are pretty much free. And then the highest ones, you can go from an RV that is a travel trailer. They have these ones called teardrops, and they are shaped like a teardrop, very small, fits 1-2 people maybe. Those are usually weekend trips. And they have some of the pop-up teardrop styles where you might see someone pulling this flat trailer behind them, but actually it pops all the way up, turns into a 2-bedroom or enough for 2 to 3 people or kids sometimes. Those are all really on the smaller end, much more affordable, much more like I'm doing this for the weekend. If you live in one of those, I'm sorry, those are really small. I live in a small one. By small, I say I have a 27-foot Airstream. So we have 130-ish square feet and a queen-size bed. And we used to have room for 2 small kids or 1 other person to sleep on a couch area. We got that converted over into offices. So most people think RV and they think of, National Lampoons, like the American Christmas, where Cousin Eddie comes with his beat up RV. Those are the RVs that you could drive that actually have a motor. They're not the ones that you haul behind a truck or any other tow vehicle. And those, you don't need a special license. As long as you can drive a car, you can drive one of those. There's nothing special about that. It is not an 18-wheeler. You need to know all these things and get your CDL. And then they have different classes. They have travel trailers and Class Cs and Class Bs and Class As. Class As are essentially the top of the line. Those are the motor coaches. Those are the ones that you can see for $2 million. And they have all the slide outs and they pop out. And those are the ones those end up, the newer ones you'll see, there are not that many, but there are motor coach luxury resorts where you would find just those. They're very, I would say classist, but really it's just hey, they paid a lot of money. They want to be around nice, pretty, motor coaches that are just like theirs. And then there's one more that I almost forgot, which is the fifth wheel. And the fifth wheel are the ones that have they go over the bed of the truck and attached in a special way to the tow vehicle, their trucks. And those things can be monstrosity in terms of size. You're talking 46-foot long fifth wheel, 20 feet longer than what I have as my travel trailer. Those are the most common for families because you get so much room. I mean, it's a few hundred square feet. I think maybe 300, 400 square feet, depending on the configuration and if you have a second level. So generally, there's the ones you pull behind, there's the ones you drive, and then there's the ones that they look like little U-Haul, things that you're just bringing some stuff with that people somehow sleep in. They're more adventurous than I am. I like to be able to stretch my legs, and I'm 5'6", so kind of give you an idea how small those are. But yeah, I mean, those are generally the classifications. And with motor and RV parks, RV parks can be some people, there's there's another style, and it's not really an RV. You can have a tent on your Jeep or your truck or the bed of your truck. It's tent camping where you're doing a pop-up tent on top of your vehicle. And those actually could be pretty roomy for, that one weekend, or if you're do adventure stuff, BMXing, mountain biking, whatever it is. Those are actually really, really useful. So when it comes to the RV parks, you're going to have dirt tent campgrounds where you pitch a tent or you bring your vehicle and you pitch a tent on top of your vehicle. And then you go up to the ones that are, the RV parks for travel trailers and fifth wheels and motor coaches that are either dirt, gravel, asphalt, concrete. And those vary in prices depending on the amenities. If it's dirt, you're not going to be paying much. If it's all concrete, you're going to be paying a premium because it's not cheap to have concrete. And then, you go from RV campground with camping to RV park, maybe no tent camping. It's just RV vehicles of that classification, all the way to RV resorts and motor coach resorts. And those are in that luxury category. So it's a wide array and a wide range of things within this market in this group. But there's something for everybody.
Awesome. No. Yeah, thank you so much. Basically, there's a budget for everyone that wants to get involved or wants to start, RV camping. So awesome. No, thank you so much for that. So if anybody is watching, go attend your next or your closest Bass. And what was that shop that they sell all those clothes for the outdoors?
Yeah.
North Store, the North Face.
Bass Pro Shop.
Bass Pro Shop, North Face.
There
North
you go.
Face would be like the luxury ones. Bass Pro Shop's like the dirt.
Black Friday is coming, guys. Black Friday is coming. And awesome. Yeah, no, thank you so much for that. Awesome. You mentioned Hidden Beach, and I believe that's one of your business partners, which is Zach, is right here. So I don't know if Zach, you want to talk a little bit about yourself and how you got started in RV parks, and more a little bit about the RV park that you're actually starting, which I believe is called Hidden Beach, correct?
That's right. Yeah. Hidden Beach RV Resort. So not just park, but a resort. And that's why Eric touched on a couple different levels, right? Because there's different primitive camping, and then there's parks, and then there's more resort levels, and then there's ones that are adult only and ones that are open to the whole family. And so, yeah, this one is going to be both open to everyone, but having an adults only section because, gosh, if you've got kids, you'll know that you just need a little adult time every now and then to be sane and to then be able to give more energy back to your kids, right? But yeah, gosh, RV parks as an asset class. Wow. I would say 2 years ago, I didn't know what this was either. I just did not know that it was something that's so prevalent, something that makes so much darn money with awesome ways of not having to evict tenants off of them, but renting concrete for gosh sake, right? And that is something that's extremely, extremely booming since COVID because we've got other people that are moving into this whole asset class, other demographics, because everyone can work from anywhere. So they choose to work from everywhere. So it's just all of that, along with affordable housing, the fact that interest rates are up, housing prices are so high. It's just another option for people to actually enjoy life while they're living and sleeping and all of that, and actually able to explore the country and not having to wait till they're retired to do all of that, right? So you can do it now. And so it's just for all those reasons and more, it's a booming, amazing asset class that everyone should be aware of and see if it fits their portfolio and their desires. But gosh, yeah. So how'd I get into this? Oh my gosh. I've been a real estate investor for 2 decades. I got into real estate investing when I was in architecture school and going through a divorce of all gosh darn things, right? And I say thank you to my previous wife for that divorce that was happening, because if it weren't for that, I wouldn't have gotten into real estate investing even to begin with. But fast forward a couple decades in real estate investing, and it was 2 years ago, just 2 years ago, I was proposing to my wife at a capital raising retreat in Miami on a triple-decker yacht on a sunset tour, and everyone's dressed in white. And I'm like, this is probably a good place to propose to my wife, right? What good production value here? I'm not going to be able to rent these things on my own. That'll cost a lot. Let me hack it. Always been about hacking things in life because I got into real estate with no money and destroyed credit. And there's just wonderful ways of living. And so I proposed 2 years ago. Instead of us wanting to go and plan our wedding, because we tried that for a little bit and we're not much wedding planners, we decided to just do what we do best and got pregnant. And so we've got our little boy that, fast forward now, he's 13 months old, but 2 years ago, he was just conceived. And it was in that time where I just started thinking, what do I want to do? How do I want to live? What assets do I want to own into the next 2 decades, right? And to pass on to him? And how do I really want to live? because I was owning single family, multifamily, and I knew what draw that took on me and the headaches of replacing roofs and toilets and renovating and fleas and anything that tenants can have. And I'm like, that's okay. And it makes awesome money. But what else is out there? And multifamily, everyone gets all big and excited about. But then as the interest rates all crept up and up and up, nobody could find good deals for multifamily. And similarly, everyone in the Sunbelt states, they started buying in the center of the country because that's where things cash flow. And that I'm going to tell you is what RV parks do really well, is they cash flow. And that's number one. They cash flow really well because you're renting concrete. Ever go to a sports game and have to find a spot to park and pay 50, 60, 80, gosh knows, dollars to park there for just a game? That's stupid money for renting concrete. You're going to be there less than a day. And so what if we could do that with real estate? And I got pulled onto a team because I was consulting, because I'm trying to figure out what to do. So I'm consulting online by the hour. My wife was like, hey, just go put out there, this is how many hundreds and hundreds of dollars you want per hour, and people will pay for your experience. I said, okay, that sounds fine. But like, once you understand real estate investing, you'd understand why I would rather have the time value of money of putting in work once and then reaping those benefits for decades and decades to come, and tax benefits, as opposed to just an hourly rate. But I was consulting and these people were asking me about RV parks. Holy smokes. And they needed some sound real estate investment advice and guidance and underwriting and things like that. And my background in architecture and engineering and MBA, business, everything coming together, it will give you my best time of day and help you as much as possible. And as the more I found out that they were paying me to find out about, the more I researched it and helped them along the way, I found that this is an awesome asset class. Everything that we talked about before, booming into the next couple decades, and just amazing for so many reasons. Antiquated, so like multifamily was, it's more mom and pop owned. So you can go and you can buy it from them creatively. You can structure some seller financing. You can structure some equity transfer over time. Lots of things that are created because it's just mom and pops have owned these RV destinations for 30, 50 years, long time. And so it's ripe for innovation, ripe for plucking the fruit right off of the tree. It's ripe right now. And I had all the tools to do it. And there's this team that's coming together with the right people to create an awesome RV resort. So gosh darn it. Yeah, I was all in. I'm like, this is something I can enjoy. This is something I love nature. I love going out and teaching people about nature. I love the experience of the different parts of the world that you can go to. Have my little boy and teach him, hey, this is a tree. This is how to camp. This is how to glamp because mommy doesn't like bugs. This is how to do all these things. And just daddy owns this whole RV park. And what does that mean? Oh, it's cash flow. Well, what does cash flow mean? Well, let me teach you about cash flow and the equity that it builds up and all the tax savings and what you can do with the cost segregation and like really quick money and tax benefits in certain years, and just having really educated conversations that they don't tend to teach you in school. Well, we can do that. And that's part of our ideal client avatar is we want someone that has kids. We want someone who's savvy and smart. They've done some research into all the different real estate investments that you can do, but they want to teach their kids. They want to teach them. They want to teach them the outdoors. They want to teach them about finance. And they want to make those memories with their kids. And that's a big part of it too, is we're going to make memories with my little boy and my little boy or girl we're going to find out in the next week, or the second one that we're having. But gosh, we can make these memories, and our investors can come down and make these memories with us. And now this is something you can truly, truly enjoy. It's making our bank account happier while we get to have fun vacations, teaching our kids, making memories with our loved ones. And it's in nature. So go have a jog in nature. Go have a little workout. That's part of what we're looking to do at our resort, is just have a mile-long loop, a trail, where you can teach them things. My little boy, gosh, I ran with him just this morning. We ran, a simple 3 miles. That's why I'm a little lightheaded and sweaty from that, but just getting outside. Like, he has already run 2 races. This is his first Father's Day 5K that he's run. Right. And then he just had another one, but I'm just I'm just teaching him that working out and enjoying nature is normal. This is perfectly normal. This is what everyone does, right? Because whatever you teach your kid, they know nothing else other than the world that's really in your bubble for the first 10, 12 years or so. And then they start to look outside and they're like, I want to do all these other things. But no, it's just such a fun asset class. And that soul searching is what really, really, truly got me into this asset class and has me super excited about it. I've really stopped buying single family, stopped buying multifamily, tons of competition, tons of different work, whether it's multifamily or single family, and just wanted to do something bigger. So that's why we're creating Hidden Beach Resort on the coast of North Carolina with 300 plus spots that people can stay there and pay us nightly rent. And we can go and enjoy it with our family and our loved ones and our investor friends as well, because that's the cool thing that RV parks allow us to do. So I freaking love it.
Awesome. No, thank you so much for that explanation. Looks like you and Eric share more than just RV parks. Looks like you guys are going to have a kid too at the same time. So it looks like this Hidden Beach Resort is more of a legacy, it looks like, right? When it comes to building something for, I guess, your future kids, correct? Because you are talking more about educating your kids and how you can educate your kids, right? So
Yeah.
do you see this more as a legacy passed down because you are building it?
So I'll go first and I'll let Eric answer next. But yes, I have at this point in my real estate career not really want to sell anything. I get that there's great reasons to go and buy something, value add it, sell it in 5 to 7 years. That's a typical type of commercial model. But for us, we'll do that. And we also want to own property because we want to have that legacy. We want to be able to, make sure that our kids are better off than we had it. I didn't have a lot of money growing up, very middle class, and it felt like I was, below the other people that were in my grade in this small town in upstate New York. But that's fine, right? What I realized my parents didn't have in money, they were abundant in love. Don't realize that until you're probably much, much older, right? And so that's life and that's fine. But gosh darn it, since the age of 8, I always had a tax number and a DBA because I knew we didn't have money. They taught me that I have to make money if I want to buy something. So gosh darn it, that's all I have to do. Oh, that's easy then. How many ways can I make money at this point? Then what's the best way to make money? Then when you make money, what's the best way to invest that and make more money, right? And that's the kind of conversations that we're having at this point is getting into all the different types of investments and why we like RV parks specifically as an awesome investment. But yeah, 100% legacy. And I want to have something to be proud of. You don't want to, in my mind, I don't want to be that landlord that's just a slumlord even, right? And maybe it's a slumlord because you bought them that way. Maybe it's a slumlord because you didn't understand the finances. You couldn't fix things up. Maybe it's because you truly don't care about the people. That's fine. They're all slumlords in a way, right? And it's just, you don't have that same feel when you have an asset that you're proud of. And so that's part of it is what's this asset that we can be proud of, something that's big enough that makes it easier to do because X is bigger than is bigger than 1X, but easier than 1X. And I always tell you, you get the systems in place, you get the people in place. X is easier than 1X of anything. So how do you get there? That's where we took some time. We had to find the right people. But yeah, you need that legacy because that's what real estate investing can be. You can sit back and you can make money for you while you're sleeping, while you're sick, heaven forbid, while you're disabled from whatever happens in life. But eventually, you start from crawling and then you're walking. And then as you're older, you're back to like crawling or like, you might need some help. And so wouldn't it be nice if your assets could help you through that and make everything safe and comfortable and happy for the people that you love in the world? Even better, they can go and enjoy it on the coast of North Carolina with lazy rivers and hot tubs and all the cool glamping and all the weird technology that nobody's seen that we're going to put at this location. So that's the fun that I look forward to.
Amazing. Yeah, and I don't know, Eric, you want to speak more about that?
So my father and I were both born in Dominican Republic, but he brought us over here and I was raised as like the first generation American of my family. And he worked really, really hard to provide a really amazing life for myself and my 2 sisters from my mom's first marriage. and raised in Atlanta, grew up that way. And one thing that he told me that's always stuck with me, before he ended up hanging down his entrepreneurial hat, he was always someone going into businesses, starting his own, working with others, just riding his own wave and following his own path. But when kids came into the picture, he's like, what, I got to go to the safe path. And seeing that as a child, he gave me a lot of opportunities, gave my family a lot of opportunities. So I definitely thank him for that. But it made me want to go and try to blaze my own path and my own trail. So ever since I was little, just like Zach, I used to cut grass, and I had my best friends. They were my employees, so I fired my own best friends because they were horrible. I used to sell drawings to my grandmother when she was alive for like ludicrous amounts, $5 for a horrible drawing. I sold pennies that were old because she was old. So I put 2 and 2 together. I said, you need to buy this. This is as old as you. And she was just like, this little kid. He's like 6. Like, okay, I can't say no. So I've always had this in my blood to be an entrepreneur, kind of come out with my own way of creating money. Like, I will never feel poor as long as I have the mental capability to create and to improve upon things. I know that skill right there will always bring in income one way or another, whether it's a hard income or easy income. That's, safe to say it depends on the situation. But the rest of my early adult years up until now, I'm 37, I've been pursuing different forms of creative media, or eventually I got into the Apple consulting, which I had avoided because I had a horrible corporate experience when I was I think I was 17 or 18 as an intern. This financial corporate place. I was below the janitors. I had a desk in a hallway. Not even a desk. It was like, it was just, I was just not useful. But to them, I was like employee number 99,000. Didn't really matter. So I never wanted to do IT for years after that. And in my 20s, I pursued doing creative pursuits, and then doing IT came about when my then girlfriend, now wife, said, hey, you're making way more money doing this versus slaving for video production and all these other things. Plus, you don't have to buy $50,000 a year to make $8 an hour. She's like, why don't you do the smart thing and do this $75 an hour thing? So I decided, sure, let's try it out. Next 15 years, I ended up doing that, and I got all the way up to charging as much as attorneys. I used to do some cybersecurity for attorneys, hundreds of dollars per hour. And one day a guy said, here, double your rate. That was the best thing I've ever learned on a computer. You just taught me. Double your rate. I said, oh, okay. That was a very profitable 4 hours of my life. But I did not build a legacy. All I did was work hours. And I could make 6 figures trying, well over 6 figures trying, or almost 6 figures like working without as much effort as I needed as somebody with a regular 9 to 5. So I learned over the last few years that I'm not building anything, and I tried to do the employees, try to grow the company, had another office out in Louisiana, partnered up with somebody. We ended up having 4 employees, and we were focusing on film studios and a lot of the type of clients I ended up working with right before I got out of that business. And I just never felt like this legacy was being built. I just felt like these hours being added. Maybe if these employees work out, I'll have a business that can turn into a legacy, but I'm still pulling at 80-hour weeks or more. One project, I pulled 2 back-to-back 100-hour weeks, and after that, we're 80-hour weeks. And I got paid 10% of it because they skimped the bill. I was like a $60,000 bill. That was like the end of me wanting to do that type of business. Long story short, when it comes to legacy, I didn't have a legacy the first 15 years of my adult career and professional life. And then I went into the business of trying to get into real estate investment. And I found that one property that was a duplex that we were house hacking and living in the smaller part of the duplex and trying to rent out the nicer, bigger part. And that kind of just came crashing down. And with the amount of work I saw that was involved, even though it was partially because I was trying to save the money, it was my first one. I wanted a crash course in house flipping and a minor being a GC essentially, so I could understand what would that be like with more investments. I was trying to go that route of building that legacy. I was like, hey, okay, got the duplex. It's one of 100 houses or 100 properties I wanted to have. A year and a half into it, I said, well, my wife said, let's sell. And I jumped up, said no, and a lot of other words. And we ended up in an RV and sold the house immediately after that conversation. And this segue into working not just in the RV park or on the RV park, but being a core team member and a general partner. I actually had swore off real estate investing for a few more years. I was like, I'm just going to travel, just make what I need so we could be on the road. It's going to be awesome. And then it just fell in my lap. And I realized, well, I really like doing this RV lifestyle. I like being on the road, I like meeting new people, seeing all the sights, and just being able to open your door and say, this is my office, this is my front yard, backyard for the next week, 2 weeks. It could be the Grand Canyon. It could be somewhere in the middle of the desert out in like Utah, whatever. It could be our front yard whenever we wanted. That mindset kind of led to saying, okay, yeah, I'll try out this RV project as a consultant as well. See what happens. And it looks like we were able to bring in enough good advice and information, the consultants, Zach and I, that, it made more sense that we actually became a part of that main team. Now, really going in and saying, okay, we're not just building an RV park to flip, but build it within 3 years, get the NOIs, get everything, at a rate where it's really attractive to sell and sell it, cash out, and then do another one. We're looking at, okay, 20 years from now, maybe we'll sell, depending on where we are in life. But like we're having kids. So what is the next 15 years of our kids' lives going to look like if we have this amazing project that we're, with Hidden Beach, with the size and the amenities, the lazy rivers, and having our own private beaches, and Zach's, implementing this really amazing like a fitness trail that's going to have all these exercises. You can scan QR codes, and for kids, there's going to be a lot of things. It's going to be a very family friendly venture, and I could not do a very family friendly Apple IT consulting company. What does that even mean? Like, I couldn't do that. That there's no legacy to even consider creating a thing like that could last 20 years. That is tangible and enjoyable by my current family and future family. So yeah, it's I think it grew out of a need to have a legacy, and the search for one just ultimately ended up in the RV park space, because it's just one of those things that, I used to be a Cub Scout and a Boy Scout, so I know the outdoors. I miss the outdoors. I think bringing that back into a generation of tablet obsessed and TikTok generation of no attention span, bringing the outdoors back into their life is absolutely needed.
Awesome. Yeah, no, thank you so much for those stories. Actually appreciate it when other people are talking about, their legacy, and it looks like you guys fell in love with the process, and it looks like you found people that you're currently working with that enjoy the process too, because usually when people getting started with investing in real estate, they talk about what they're going to do with the money and not about the process. So it looks like you guys not only like, working in the RVs in the real estate space, but enjoy working in the RV industry. So that's actually good to hear. So I know Brian over here is waiting patiently. So Brian here, can you just share your story of how you started, and maybe share some parks that you're currently working on?
Yeah, for sure. So like, I spent too much time in the office. So I like getting out, like going hiking and camping. I've always done that all my life. And then like about 4 years ago, I got my own little Airstream. It's about 22 feet. So I like going on road trips and going camping in my Airstream. It's always fun. Just going different places, seeing different parks and stuff like that. And then about 2 years ago, I found a park that was actually for sale. So that became nice. I actually worked out a deal with the seller, got it on seller financing, and I was able to get a park in Nevada. So that was pretty cool. And that was my first park. And then I found out it cash flowed pretty well. It actually cash flows better than mobile home parks. So that's how I became interested in RV parks, because they do better. They have more cash flow, and then you have more revenue streams as well at an RV park. You can sell, firewood, ice, propane. You can sell golf carts. I actually rent golf carts, rent kayaks, all that good stuff. And then you can do other things like have horse trails, and snacks, all that good stuff. You can't do that at mobile home parks. So that's why I'm in RV parks. There's way more opportunity, more potential, and stuff like that.
So you're saying that when we're looking at mobile home parks, I guess the cash flow wasn't there, or the revenue wasn't there when it came to RV parks, or were there more revenue streams when it comes to RV parks, or is there like a cap when it comes to mobile home parks?
Well, mobile home parks, you're kind of capped. At RV parks, you can make it better, and you have multiple streams of income you can get from an RV park, because you can offer things to campers like like I said, firewood, propane, ice, kayaks, and even other things. snacks, all that good stuff.
And then the park that you currently have in Nevada, you said, what other streams of revenue do you currently have on that one? Or do you
That
currently
one,
planning on expanding on it?
I know it's mostly a long-term park. It has like 10 short-term spots, but on that one, only the laundry room is the revenue stream there.
Do you plan on maybe adding a few other stuff maybe down the line or expanding or is
Yeah, I might expand it, but not sure yet.
God? And then are you currently working on other parks with other people currently? I know Shane is there.
currently,
No,
yeah,
Shane,
currently partnering with Shan, and we're looking at some parks in Missouri and Tennessee and Utah and Colorado.
I know you guys have a fund, right? Correct?
So we do have fun. Yeah, we're starting to raise capital for park acquisitions. We started that earlier this year, and we're gonna take it into next year and try to get to $5 million per quarter, and then go from there to get, hopefully four parks a year. We'll see how that goes.
Got it. And then you said you had a fund, right? I guess there's different ways to buy RV parks. I don't know if Zach and Eric kind of explain how they buy RV parks. And if you guys have a fund, or do you guys go to traditional banks, or how do you guys acquire parks? Or do you guys have a fund like Brian and Shane over here?
So there's always the capital stack that you have to consider when you're acquiring an asset, a real estate asset, and what your time frame is that you're going to exit out of that. Like if you're going to sell it, like you, an easy example, a fix and flip, you tend to fix up any type of house and you'll sell it in 12 months. So that's an example of trying to recycle the asset, add some value and move on. So you have to know what your exit strategies are, and you want to tie those exit strategies to the funding that you're using. It's really important in real estate. I always teach people this and tell them you want to start at the end and work backwards. You don't want to just buy something with whatever type of funding you can and then see what happens down the road. I mean, you can do it that way, but you'll probably learn some valuable lessons. And I would say get someone to help you start from the end and work backwards. So if you want to hold an asset long-term, you have to think about long-term funding that's at the end of the whole game. So you think of that typically as a bank, but it can be some type of fixed interest over lots of years, 30 years. Sometimes people are extending those to 40, 50. Commercial is typically a 25-year type of note, but something longer than 1 year or 3 years or even 5 years. That's more of that short-term flipping type of financing that's involved. And so the short answer to your question is that we incorporate all of those types of financing into us buying them. We've got seller financing. I always say negotiate and talk to the first person you can and everyone about money. Well, the first person is the seller. So why don't I ask them for some funding to begin with? And there's lots of ways that can be structured. But we have seller financing on the land. And for us, we have to put money into the land to make it so that we can go and ask for more money to develop the land. So that's the first part, is entitling the land. So we're getting some funding for that. It happens to be tying some investors to the individual parcels that we have. It's another difference is that we've got a bunch of parcels. You don't always have that with something that you're buying. It could be just one big RV park, boom, and you're just financing it like that. But you can pool people's money together. You can use individual money on individual parcels. There's tons of different ways of pooling money together. So you have to make sure that you're doing that in alignment with the rules and the regulations of things like the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC. But for us, yeah, we're also creating a fund so that we can pool some money like that. This happens to be a B fund. There's lots of numbers, lots of acronyms, lots of, regulation D, this thing, that thing. They're just citing the rules and the chapters of ways that they allow people to pool money together or syndicate these deals. And so, yeah, for us, we're having short-term notes that we're creating, longer-term notes with some funds. We're going to move into the next phase of development where we're going to go and get a construction loan along with some pooled money together in a 506 type of equity fund. So that goes together. And then come year 5, 6, when everything is good, we can refinance it for that long-term financing. We're going to take this money that's owed to the development fund and owed to our investors, and we're going to refinance that all into that one big bank type of long-term note that will then own the property long term, but we can pay off everything that we owe and everyone that we've promised that's part of the deal with us in the equity fund and get them really awesome, like X type of returns on their money in that short amount of time. And then we recycle that money, buy another park, and it just keeps moving around. So there's always money that's moving around. And so the answer is more of an and versus an or with financing. And you really want to be careful of that whole capital stack and how you get there. So yeah, really thinking about all of the funding, that's, again, most important, working from the back, working towards the current acquisition that you're trying to achieve.
Awesome. I appreciate that. There are some people when they get involved in real estate or RV spots, when they are talking to other investors, oh, I'm doing this, so I'm doing that. And some people, including myself, they do chase, that shiny object syndrome where, oh, this person is doing this, maybe I should do this. And then it gets a little bit confusing. So I like how you kind of phrase that, work from the back and then work forward. So that's actually good advice. So for anybody that is starting, so make sure you know what your exit strategy is, so you know how to, I guess, potentially fund the deal. I don't know if somebody wants to talk about what kind of different exit strategies are. I don't know if Shane wants to talk about what kind of exit strategy you have on your side. I know it might be a little bit different from Eric's and Zach's side.
Yeah, I mean, there are numerous types of exits, right? I mean, Zach, I can't remember like Zach and Eric, but your guys' case, it's a long-term hold, right? The goal is to make this a legacy, as you've said. Hold it till you pass away or put it in a trust and give it to your kids, right? So on our end, we have probably two exits, right? We have in the fund a shorter timeline, right? We're looking at maybe 5 years on average. And that's so that we can repay our investors and repay their preferred returns. That's usually pitched on a 5-year cycle. It can go 4 to 7 years, if 5 is our sweet spot. But if we look to buy a park adjacent to the fund, it's going to be more just like us as an owner owning it with maybe 1 or 2 partners. That will typically be a longer term strategy. And we'll look at that for at least 10 plus years. As long as the cash flow continues to make sense, we're likely to stay locked up in that deal, just like Zach and Eric said, forever, right? Only thing we'll have to do is potentially, as Zach mentioned, the different capital stacks is we will probably, after 7 or 10 years, we'd probably refinance it into some longer term debt, pay back our initial partners, recapture our equity, and then let it go, forever until it's paid off. So in essence, those probably where our chief focus are. In the fund, we're more of that short term, 4 to 7, 5-year average. That's just trying to create a profit, get in, get out, go to the next one. Whereas if it's an adjacent park, it's going to be, let's hold it as long as we can, as long as the cash flow makes sense.
Got it. And Brian, you want to expand on that, or just Shane
Sure.
right on?
So I like the idea of keeping parks for the cash flow. That's a good thing. Because, cash flow is always nice to have around. But, improving a park and flipping it 5 years later is also good for, raising capital and getting on to the next park. But, for me, I like the cash flow. It's nice and stable income.
Got it. So it looks like we talked about, how to acquire the parks, but we haven't talked about, I guess, more in detail about the marketing side. I know, Eric, you kind of do the marketing side on Zach's side. I don't know if you want to talk about a little bit more on how you handle that on your end when it comes to acquiring parks.
Yes. So with the marketing, I mean, right now we're very early stage. We have a 5-year development plan with multiple phases. The first year to 2 years is just getting the permitting, the entitlement done, getting everything we need so we can really start building the actual park and putting in structures and converting the beach over. But in the aspect of raising capital, that's a marketing, a piece of the marketing that unless you already have a partner that's part of the GP, the core team that's bringing funds or can qualify for the size loan for the development or renovation you're doing for your park, you're going to have to raise funds. And for us, for raising funds, we initially started with a non-506B or 506C type of fund. It was more just of a private debt investment, which allowed us to reach out to different people that we would normally not be able to per the SEC ruling of the 506B or the 506C style funds. So that gave us a little bit more wiggle room to show more people, to introduce what we're doing with Hidden Beach, to talk about some of the features and invite them onto calls. But primarily the marketing for Hidden Beach is really in that preliminary stage of raising capital. We need to get money to get this park acquired and, get it off the ground with all the entitlements and permitting that we need to do. So all of our advertising really was just showing people what we want to build, not as deep of a pitch deck as you would need with those specific type of funds, since this was a more of a private investment. And yeah, we we started off, I think we really hit the ground running in June, and throughout July and August, we were actively talking to potential private investors to bring them on board and have them invest with us. And it's been, a lot of we're riding by the seat of our pants, because a lot of people that are looking at these returns, we're doing something a little different. We're not just creating an investment that is solely just for the investment, the financial benefit. We wanted to offer more than that. We're talking about actually offering the stays and just different ways that our early investors can be recognized as VIP guests at our RV resort and other future resorts, and really treat them well. Our marketing had to be less of here are returns, and it's more of here's your experience and what you're going to get when you come and you visit us for the next 20 or so years, that you can share with family and friends, and just kind of tailoring it to more of that experience-based investor that is looking at, these are nice returns and all, but what do I get for, being the early adopter, early investor for such a large project? What memories can we make there? And that was what we really had to sell and market, was just like, it's not just a return. It can be more if you want it to be more. And if you want it to be more, it could be all of these things. With the 300 pads, we're also talking about 12 glamping units. For the marketing, we had to, everyone can market a pad. You can take a picture of a pad, you can make believe it's in Hawaii, you can make believe it's in Wyoming, depending on how you take the angle of that picture, it can just be a pad anywhere. Nothing special about it. But then you start to throw in the amenities. Now you're starting to differentiate away from the park over here, 5 miles there, park hour to the west. And then you start adding in amenities and alternative lodging that is starting to gain a lot of traction, like glamping. So we really leaned in on the glamping experience, because glamping to a lot of people is a canvas tent on a deck, and that's it. There you go. You're not in your RV. You're in a glorified, for me, that was a tent I slept in as a Cub Scout, just fancier and bigger. And I was like, I wouldn't pay $1 more for that. I would actually want a refund. You need to pay me to sleep in that. And that's what's out there with your mom and pop sites that are thinking, ooh, we're going to jump in on this glamping trend. So we decided, all right, let's completely rewrite the book. Instead of just having one style that is common, let's go really uncommon, just more unique stays, geodesic domes. Started taking an inspiration from other companies and other luxury stays around the world. And one of them was in Quebec, in Canada, and they had 30-foot tall tree houses. And that really, we loved their design, their style. We said, why don't we build some of these? There's only like one of these in the whole Western hemisphere that we know of. Let's add 3 more. So we really focused our marketing on the aspect that we didn't want to be like every other park, which everybody says that, but then they end up with just, gravel and a canvas tent, and they say, look, we're different. We really, really wanted to stand out, because if we're going to put our heart and soul in the next few years of this, and plus 20 years of ownership or more, having this asset class become a legacy, we really wanted it to be something that not only would stand out on paper and on the web, visually, it would help people come and drive into the middle of nowhere, because we're currently in a location that is yet to be really developed. So we are needing to be this anchor, and our marketing had to focus on that. And that was part of that experience that we were selling. It all blended together. How do we get the investors? How do we get future guests interested? And how do we get a seat at the table with these resorts, these RV resorts out there that have already made a name for themselves, that are more established? How do we just shove them out of the way and get ourselves on that table and say, hey, we're here. You can't kick us out.
Got it. So it looks like money is very important when it comes to marketing, or one of the
Oh yeah. You got to have money to let people know who you are and where you are.
Awesome. And it looks like we're coming up on an hour, and I don't want to keep you guys up for long. So I don't know if you have any other questions or any other topics you guys want to talk about, or if not, we can probably end it with some closing comments. Or
Shane and Brian, do you guys have anything offhand? Otherwise, I might have one thing to talk about.
So basically, we're always looking for parks that are 50 spaces or more. We're looking in like Missouri, Utah, Colorado, and other states. So yeah, if you have a park that you're looking to sell, give us a call.
Also say if you have money looking to deploy, more importantly, we're
There's
ready
money
for it
more,
as well
sure.
too. we do have parks that we have numerous requests. Every week we have requests for potential parks that we, at our initial look, we're excited by. But yeah, we get more requests for capital than we can raise capital at this equal speed. So, we'll get $1 million a week of requests for capital, but only raise, maybe $100,000 a week. Like, well, we're short still. So we're always looking for not only parks, but also, Brian would say, capital. So always looking for accredited investors who looking for safe and stable returns, and also amongst the highest returns you'll find in the market of any real estate class. A point I wanted to make, which is kind of going back to Zach and Eric, your guys' park, right? So you guys are building a legacy, but you also have your identities and names attached to it. So part of the pitch of your park is also yourself, right? Because you're starting from literally land acquisitions all the way to building this new Disney World, right? It's like that's your name, your energy side to it. Whereas me and Brian, right, it's a little more of an analytical approach. It's not quite as flashy or as pretty or as cool, but we're more just like, hey, here's a park. It's already cash flow. Use that as a vessel to make money to then go build your legacy maybe somewhere else to our investors. So our investors maybe not have the same identity associated with the parks, but it's a vessel to go find whatever their passion project is. So it's a different approach. And unfortunately, it's not quite, I think, as much fun or as lively as your guys' can be, but people are excited, right? If the returns, and it is a new asset class that's less common. So there is still excitement with it, but it is not necessarily as much of a personal endeavor, as much personal identity associated with it. So for us, parks come and go through our email every day. We're not as excited by some are more excited by, but if the park, is it for us the least decent shape and it makes cash flow to service the debt and return our investors, we're excited by it. Even though it may be boring, there may not be a bunch of other amenities. There's probably no lazy rivers or robots or drones on site. It still makes sense for cash flow. It's still a good return. And for our investors, they like it because they can go, get that passive money and go do what they want to do on their end. So I did want to make that point out that even though we're all this community here, we're all RV, even within RV, we're all so different in our approaches and where our tactics are. Even though, so it really isn't even saying we don't confuse each other. All we do is we're just working in the same industry, just different directions. There really isn't a competition amongst we do in any capacity, which is obviously why we're all here working together now, doing podcasts.
Shane, I love how you framed all of that and put that together, because you're spot on. And I mean, that's one of the things that is so attractive about the RV park asset class is cash flows like crazy, right? And just like when the interest rates rise, and I was saying everyone goes from the Sun Belt states that seem all flashy and fun. Oh, let's buy in Florida. Oh, let's buy in Texas. Let's, these fun destinations. Then they say, oh, well, I can't afford those. Those don't cash flow the same way when interest rates are high. Where can you still afford everything? Boop, the center of the whole country, right here in boring Ohio, right? Some people might say boring. I always say sunny. Doesn't matter the association with it. But I will tell people, yeah, Ohio is boring. But what boring is it's consistent. It's that money that keeps coming in all the time. Guess what? All of a sudden, everyone that was buying in those Sunbelt states come every 10 years when the economy takes to a certain cycle where it makes super financial sense to buy in the Midwest here. All of a sudden, they love us again. What do you know? And everyone wants to buy here. Everyone from California, from Florida. Where are you buying? Ohio. There. Oh, my freaking backyard. Yeah, no wonder, right? Everyone comes and they love us again. Then they hit us and they quit us when the interest rates change. And that's fine, because there's investment opportunities that are all over the place and they're different. But what's important is really good underwriting of the cash flow, underwriting of the equity, underwriting of the potential that you can expand on it, knowing how you're going to finance it, knowing how you're going to have that end game so that you can exit out of it for your investors, for yourself, for everyone. Doing that not so sexy, not so flashy underwriting, to me as an engineer, I love that. And a lot of people don't really appreciate those things. But without that good underwriting, the whole thing, it can be a complete flop. And I don't care how many lazy rivers you put into something. There's a point where there's too many lazy rivers and it doesn't make sense, right? If you just have that one side pushing and pushing with exciting visionary type of items without that pushback of the analytical side of it, of does this make sense? Will this last the test of time for the duration, getting us the end result that we want? Without that, you're screwed before you even start. So That is important. And to me, it's super important. You have to underwrite everything. And it's also, what always ends up working. It always works that way. When you underwrite something right and have multiple exit strategies and are conservative in your underwriting, then you're safe. You're good. That's my engineer and me, design something that's 4 times stronger than I need it to be. That way it's not going to fail in extreme situations. Similar with underwriting. And honestly, that I would say is the bare minimum that someone should do that invests in anything, is make sure that there's solid underwriting, that the team understands that very well. And just like you were saying, Shane, in order to do that, you're going to end up, for existing deals, you're going to look through tons of them. Might be 100 just to get one that matches your criteria, matches your risk tolerance, matches your financing with the expansion that you want to have. It takes that type of time. And that's one of the things that people don't realize, that just want to invest with, that are investing with you in your fund and that want to invest in your fund. They don't realize all the work that goes on behind the scene. They only see the flashy thing, which is the 1 in 100 that you've analyzed and put in front of them. They don't see all the papers and the scribbles and that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Can't negotiate a reasonable price here that makes sense. They're not going to see that. But that's the benefit that they're getting by working with smart people on a fund, is that those fund managers, they're going to do all that work ahead of time before they get paid to bring those opportunities to those savvy real estate investors that can invest in that fund. And so, heck yeah, to underwriting. It's sexy in its own light, right? Without it, you're up a creek without a paddle, and it's probably pretty murky water, alligators and all.
Awesome. I don't know, Eric, you want to share something?
The last thing I would say is, Shane, you were describing how you and Brian are, we're opposite in certain ways. Like Zach and I kind of split that visionary role, myself being the one with the experience that can actually marry the vision and what can and should work, will work in the parks. But we're also like the salesman, because we have a brand, versus with the fund, you guys are at you're above us in the sense of you're working to make these parks happen. Right now, we're boots on the ground. We're trying to develop a park and a brand and identity from the ground up, as well as, we're going to expand when things calm down a little bit, is to pick up more parks that can be, I'd say, flipped, but we do want to hold on to them for as long as it makes sense. But now having an additional smaller, less flashy, less resort style brand as well. So all in all, we're all in the same train, going in the same direction, whether or not, we're on a bullet train or we're on a regular train, just picking up everything, that makes sense, that is for that long-term haul, for cash flow, and for profit for the investors. We're all in the same direction. So it's good to find fellow passengers on said train to enjoy the journey with, and to share the different experiences from the different sides of the table.
I love that. We're all on the same train, going the same direction, going to success. There you go. Any, Zach, any other last comments you want to share on your end?
Well, I would say how they mentioned that their fund is open to accredited investors. That's going to be accredited investors only. Our fund that we have right now is open to our non-accredited partners that know us as well. It's closed to everyone else that doesn't know us right now. It's closed to them, but come and book a call with us. Just book a discovery call and start chatting with us, because then, who knows, down the line, we're going to have other opportunities that are available, other funds. Please learn about us, learn about real estate investing, and learn the fun that it can really be to passively invest in this. And with us, we always like to give resort stays and make those memories, those destinations, so you can be a part of a future endeavor that we're working on. But you got to know us, right? Whether you're accredited or non-accredited, I always wanted to make what we're doing accessible to everyone. Starting out with not a lot of money in a family, starting into real estate with destroyed credit and no money from a failed marriage. I want to make things accessible to everyone. And that's what a fund is, where it's open to those non-accredited people. It's more of a pain in the butt for us. Not going to lie about that, right? Rather get $1 million, $2 million investors, $10 million, just move it easier. But it doesn't fulfill me in that same way. I want it to be available to everyone. It's a yes and not just an upper echelon, anything like that. That's the cool thing about what we're doing. What we really love is you can come on in. So yeah, book a call with us, chat with us. Let's chat about where you are in your investments, what you like, what you don't like, and just learn a little bit more every day. I love teaching. So come chat with me, and who knows, in the future, you could be floating down the lazy river with us as an investor with your kids, making those memories and those awesome pictures that we all love.